Hi, and welcome to another episode of Celebrating Small Family Businesses. Today we are celebrating Donna Peterson and World Innovations, Inc., a B2B marketing firm. Hi, Donna.
Hi, how are you today?
Wonderful, wonderful. How are you?
I am great. Right now, we are trying not to melt. It's very hot, so we are trying to. I don't mind being inside at my desk. Let me just tell you that.
Yeah, we're in Florida, so we go from AC to
Oh,
AC.
Yes.
You know,
Our feels like temperature sometimes, yesterday I think it was the actual temperature was 91 and the feels like was 103.
oh, I don't know how you people do it. I could not live down there. I
there
gotta
are
stay up
times we
north.
don't know either.
There's a lot of people in winter in the central Florida area that have summer homes in the
Yeah,
Carolinas in the mountains for just that reason.
yeah, snowbirds. We get them up in Vermont all the time.
Yep.
The Carolinas, they used to call them Floridians.
Alrighty.
Yeah,
'Cause
because we didn't know how to do the switchbacks.
Yeah,
So we would ride in the middle of the road.
we are flatlanders.
That's right.
Okay.
So, Donna, tell us about the history of World Innovations. How did it get started? I think it's a fascinating story, if I recall.
Yes, it is. First, the company is World Innovators, and it was
Sorry.
founded 43 years ago by my mother. Now, you can imagine back then that was a big deal for her to go out on her own and start up the company. But it was all because she saw a need for mailing lists because we didn't have the internet then. And she had clients like Frost and Sullivan, Forrester, NYU, Fordham, Caltech, who wanted to promote their programs, but didn't know how to reach these executives. And she went around the world talking with different publishers and conference companies about what mailing lists, so I mean postal lists, did they have available that her clients could rent. And that really is the basis of our company. It started as a list company. So it was postal lists. And of course, now we have evolved into email lists. But we've also grown with our clients so that we are a full service B2B marketing agency, helping our clients get their message right in front of their target audience. Because gone are those days of doing those big, broad, general messages to a large audience and getting all the sales you need. That it won't work anymore. And we help our clients find that specific niche audience and get their message in front of them. So as the years have grown, 43 years, it has evolved. I will not say it was all easy. It definitely was not. We have been through some things in the economy. You know, there was September 11th, which shut a lot of things down. We had anthrax scares that again shut things down. People weren't going to travel. People wouldn't open up mailing. And then you also had the whole evolution of marketing and the technology that's out there that's kind of changed our workspace.
Yeah. So, what was the transition like when you've got mail when that became a thing? What did that just really rock your business?
You know, at first, everyone wasn't sure, and everyone still was very secure that it had to be a postal mail piece. A lot of people still wanted to get print. And then you did start to see the change. And it wasn't a drastic boom, it was a gradual, let's incorporate some email into our campaigns. And then again, a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And you did see a lot of companies leave doing a print or a postal campaign and going into emails to then setting up banners. You know, we didn't have banners back when the company started. There was no internet back when the company started. It was 43 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's why the ingenuity my mother had about traveling around the world. I don't mean getting on a Zoom call. There was no Zoom call. It was getting onto planes, meeting people in person. But because she did that, some of those relationships she formed 43 years ago are still in existence.
Wow.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is such a value to the personal contact
Yes.
that you just, I mean, this is great. And it's so much better than a phone call because I can see your face and I can read your expressions and we can connect on a much deeper level. And I found that with my parents when we lived across the country from my parents. Trying to getting on a video call was a huge difference. But it's not the same as face to face. It's never.
I totally agree with that. I met with a vendor this week on Tuesday, and same thing. He flew in. He goes, I don't do as many meetings like this anymore, but I get so much value out of it. And now, especially, well, with marketing, but everything in our life has to be about building those relationships. Mm-hmm. And if you want to build a relationship where you really connect with the individual, those in-person meetings open up so much. It's not just business. It's not just, okay, let's do this interview. We're going to leave. It's, oh, where are you going on your vacation? What are your kids doing? Oh, your dog? It just opens up a whole plethora of different things for you to talk about, but things for you to connect on.
Right.
Exactly so.
Well, and you're more relaxed because you're not recording. You know?
Yes.
You can say things that one-to-one that you couldn't say maybe that on a recording.
Right.
I'm notorious for that.
And if you're doing a 20-minute Zoom call, you know, you want to get to the point, you want to get your information, and everyone leaves.
Right.
But if you're sitting down, I was meeting him in Starbucks. We were sitting down for an hour, just sipping on, I was having a cold brew, I think, with some cinnamon on it. And our conversations went in a variety of different ways, but it did uncover something I didn't know about him in business, what he could do for my clients that's going to help my clients go further.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
You almost want to pay for his plane ticket for that, don't you?
You know, sometimes you do, because when you meet someone in person, it saves, I say, at least 10 emails back and forth, you know, trying to figure out like what exactly are they saying?
Exactly.
This?
Right. What is the tone? Emails do not, and text do not have tone.
Oh, please. They don't. And sometimes I do read an email like, oh, they're mad at me. Why are they mad at me? And then you talk to them, they're like, I'm not mad. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Some reason I read your email and it came across snarky.
No, I'm just a snark. What can I say? I like to be a little sarcastic. Okay.
Well, that's it. I'm a little quirky, and sometimes people don't get it that I'm really, it's a joke. Right. I'm not being serious. And I tell people when I meet them in person, I'll say something and I can tell by them being reserved or quiet, they're not quite sure, was that a joke or was that not a joke? And then I look at them going, I was joking. I'm a big...
Yeah.
Well, and that's how you figure each other out, and that's part of, you know, the establishing kind of the relationship and the rules of engagement. Because I've always tended to be taking myself too seriously and been very literal, and so when I meet somebody that messes with me, I'm one of those I don't know, and I'll get that deer, and I don't have a poker face at all, so I'll get that deer in the headlights look, and you know they'll say, "I'm messing with you."
Oh, come on. If you work with family, you better be funny. You better fly with it, because otherwise.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, so mentioning that.
Yes.
Your mother started the business. You said in our pre-interview that you've worked both with your father in the business at some point, and also your husband works in the business currently.
Yes.
And our daughter,
my mother started.
And your daughter?
Yep. My mother started the company in 1980. My father then joined 2 years later to help him on the sales side, because he was a salesman for different food brands, but then decided to join her. I joined around their 10th year, and I've been here ever since. I swore I was never, ever going to do this.
Famous last words.
It was well, and also in college, you have to understand, when I was in college and my friends thought my mother had mail lists, MALE lists, they got quite excited, and I had to calm them down and say, no, not males, mail, M-A-I-L. Then it wasn't as glamorous anymore.
Right.
Oh, that's so funny.
But I swore I was going more the accounting. I wanted to be a certified financial planner. And while I was studying, I worked for my mother part-time. And that's where the love sparked. I couldn't believe I had the opportunity to work in a variety of different industries around the world. So I wasn't dealing with just people in the United States. We were over in the UK. We were all over Germany, Asia, just speaking to different people. And I love learning about their culture. I love learning about different industries. And then the nuances of marketing just don't even get me started. And if my family was around me, they're like, really, don't get her started. Because I love that nuance of trying to figure out what does resonate with people. What would they find interesting to read? What colors are they drawn to? I really can geek out on it. So the whole world of B2B marketing, going into that industrial side where it's really intricate, I got hooked, joined, and never left. And then my husband joined in 2002 because at that point we were starting a family and he didn't want to work his long financial hours anymore. And so he joined the company. He still works here today. Both my children have worked in the company at some capacity. And my daughter right now is doing her graduate degree. So she's back working with the company, helping us on our podcast, the B2B Marketing Excellence Podcast, and getting it produced and promoted out in the marketplace.
Ah, okay. Very good. Yes, I've
So
watched
lots
a
of
couple
levels of
episodes.
family.
There you go.
Yes, yes. So, what do you love most about working with family? And you talked about falling in love with the, the multinational and the nuanced part of it. And I mean, we could geek out on that for an hour.
Yes.
That's all the different cultures and communications and all that.
Yeah.
But within the business, the family in the business, what do you love about that? And what is like your greatest, a two-part question. So what's your greatest tip or secret that you've learned about harmoniously balancing the two things?
All right, I'm going to answer these two questions, but that last question, still working on that one all the time. But I have to say something about working with family business is that unconditional support. Just like when you're in a relationship at home, it's that unconditional love. When you're working in a business with your family members, there is that unconditional support that they're always going to be there. You know that they really do have you top of mind. They don't have a separate agenda for themselves because we're working together as a family. And when this is the livelihood at times it was two families. It was my parents and then my husband and I. And that was the only income coming into our house was this business. You do work together to make it succeed. And it is not always easy. There's definitely pluses and minuses to a family business. But I feel that one of the best tips I could give people as they start a family business is make sure each individual has their own specific role that they're responsible for. Good. Yeah, I find if everyone is too much like this, it gets very muddy very quickly.
It gets too much like this. Yeah.
It really does. So for instance, like me, I'm more on the sales. I am more forefront, right in front of the clients, where my husband is in the financial side. That is his wheelhouse. I work like this. He works like this. So he's able to go over the details carefully, make sure everything is spot on. My mom, who is 91, is still with the company and she comes in and works. And to have her as a sounding board is priceless, because there is something about knowing the history and the evolution of marketing to be able to talk to someone about that. And that's what does worry me about when people go out to do marketing, especially in the B2B space. They have to understand the history that came before in order to really be successful for all the years to come.
Okay, my coach hat just went on. When you say when they go out into market, they have to understand the history of the company that they are representing as a marketing agent, or the history of the company that's doing the marketing.
Well, kind of both. I think your clients have to understand your family dynamics, how the company is structured, how it's
Great.
set up, your basis. There's something about when you work with a family business, there's a work ethic you don't find in other companies. Within our company, we're family owned. We don't want to turn around and just sell this. Like my mother said, this was her fourth child. This company is her baby. And I think if I ever tried to sell it, I might as well just go out and dig a hole, because she would absolutely die. And I didn't understand that for the longest time. But after putting in the sweat and the time I've put in, I have no desire to sell it and just, manage people. I like being in the meat of it. I like talking to the clients. I like talking to the vendors. I like to go to the industry trade shows. So it's important for clients to know that. But then when you want to be a really good marketer, it's important to know the history of marketing. Like, how did postal campaigns work? How did it evolve into email? Now with marketing, everyone wants to use like special phrases like omni-channel, account-based marketing. And it's like relationship building even. I use that word a lot because that's what everyone's using. But we were always concerned about that. My father, when he came in from being sales for big food brands like General Mills and Stauffer, Stouffer, he knew that it's all about building those relationships with your prospects, but also with your fellow employees and the people you work with.
Yeah, and before the internet, it was like, well, the only way you're gonna do anything is to build a relationship. It was a given.
Yeah,
and
that's when you had to travel to see them.
Right. And now
So those relationships
you have
got
the
deeper.
option of just sitting behind a screen and spitting out a bunch of stuff and sending it out and never making any personal contact. And so
Right.
it's really, we have to keep remembering that we're human.
Yes.
Especially in
We
this
do.
AI world.
Oh,
I think this is going to be another "Don't Get Me Started."
it is going to be another don't get me started, because I go around now and I'm speaking at different industrial shows about how they can incorporate AI into the mix. But you just brought up a very good point, Connie. AI is great. You have to learn how to use it correctly. And that's what I talk about. But don't forget that personal side
Exactly.
that cannot come from AI.
And that's one of the joys of working in a family business.
Yes.
And being a part of that, because you can have that personalization that you're not getting from a big corporation that's faceless.
Yes.
Much deeper.
You're
because of the
absolutely
history.
right.
Right.
Yes. Like people know, clients know, you work with me. You're going to work with me until I get hit by a bus, or I don't know what happens. It's not that I'm going to jump ship for another higher salary. That's not going to happen. And, that's the other thing about family. Everyone's here for the long haul. We're not here for 3 years to then move on to the next job.
Right.
We're here because we're invested. We care about our clients, but also as a family, we want this to grow and be successful.
Yes, and yeah, that was one of the things that I heard in there. I wanted to make sure to tease out was that one of the differences between the corporate world. You mentioned agenda. The family members, they're not having to manage and protect their own career and build their own brand separate from the business,
Yes.
because they're part of the business. They own the business, and hopefully, unless they do something really stupid, they're not going to get kicked out.
Right. Like Connie said, also, there's that story. Right now, how do you as a brand stand out? And it's all about telling your unique story.
Right.
So for instance, there's lots of B2B marketing companies out there. Please, there's ones popping up every day. Kids come out of college and they're marketing experts. But what makes you separate? Well, you know what? We're 43 years old. We are woman owned. We work in the industrial space. It's all family. So you see, we've whittled down our story to be very unique. And some people say, no way, we don't want to work with you. We want to work with the big, huge corporations.
Right.
Well, that's fine because we wouldn't be a good match anyway.
No.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, by all means, let us know how that worked.
yeah. Well, I always just say, there's personalities come into play and you will align yourself with the people who resonate with your story. And don't try to push it. Don't try to push it that you can work with everyone because it's not going to work. And half the time, those people you shouldn't have been working with, if you do get them as clients, they're going to be headaches. So you want to get rid of them now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them weed out themselves.
And that would fit with I think a lot of companies. They don't have to be a family business for that. But so again, my curiosity is asking, so is there something that comes out of the experience of working with family that makes that clearer or easier to do?
What, telling the story?
Recognizing where there's a fit and where there isn't.
I don't know if that's a family business thing or an age thing, because as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at that. Because when I first joined, it was all about, okay, let's just make sales. Let's just work with everybody. Even our promotions would be more marketing. So we would work with B2B and B2C brands, where now we're really more B2B and really on the industrial side because we know the pharmaceutical manufacturers and food manufacturers and metalworking manufacturers better than if you were trying to sell shoes. And now, I guess over the years, I've grown that we are better just sticking in our wheelhouse. We'll be more successful as a company, but our clients also are going to reap the benefit because they're going to get our specialty, our expertise.
And so B2B, I think most anybody will know that means business to business, but when you say in the industrial space, so B2B could be an accountant, that
Yes.
works with small businesses doing their accounting. So that would be a form of B2B, but you're more in product-based, like somebody's a manufacturer that's creating physical things
Equipment.
that these other companies buy, right?
Right. A lot of the stuff we do is large pieces of equipment. So there'll be HPLC machines or CNC machines, and how you market something like that is totally different than if it's accounting services. Because some of these pieces of equipment that we're trying to help sell can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can't just slap up a social media post and get someone to buy that equipment.
It's not an impulse buy.
No, it's a different type, and that's why going around to industry specific publishers has really helped us in finding that niche audience.
Right.
Wow, that made me remember we were in the egg business when I started my career, and when I joined the company, we were in an expansion, and our hired manager, had located the world's best, I'll call it, most advanced egg grading machinery was from a company called MOBA, M-O-B-A, out of the Netherlands. They still are, as far as I know. But we imported this machine from the Netherlands, and it came with two guys to put it together. And so I understand exactly what you're talking about from that point of view.
1977, it was $150,000.
I have no idea. I have no idea what it was. I'm sure it was.
That's what it was.
At least that.
And
because we had to build a building to house it.
And then they had to have. Wow. And then guess who was in charge of running it and making sure that when things happen.
Yeah, I needed to know how to do all the maintenance.
Because there again was running 24/7.
Yes. Yeah.
And that, I wasn't involved in the decision process, but making a commitment to something that's that central to your business, where your whole process is dependent on that thing, and taking a risk on something that's not popular, because it was popular in the world, but it wasn't popular in the United States. There were other local or more local manufacturers that owned the market. So we were really going against the grain.
Yeah. And that's one of the things when you are trying to buy a piece like that, everyone comes into the decision. You got your CEO who's got to be in there. Your CFO obviously has got to tell you, do you have enough money? But then you want your production and operations people involved too, to say, is this really going to make us more efficient? Is this really going to take our business to the next level to be worth building a new building, or bringing over two technicians and then training you to use the machine and to maintain the machine?
Right,
It's
because we
a
couldn't pick up the phone
big,
and just call the guy to come, down the road to
right.
fix
It's a
something.
big decision. Like one of the companies I work with, they're a German company, and same thing. They get the piece of equipment sent here, but then some of their people have to come over from Germany, and now they're trying to train people from the US to do it. But there's a lot more time, education needed in order to get people to make those decisions.
And especially in a small family business where, you know, you're outlaying this much money on a
Oh,
hope, a dream, a prayer that
yes,
is really is going to, in the long run, pay off. But
yes.
and you don't have a lot of the backing that you've got in a large corporation where they can absorb that and go, yeah, we'll mark it off. We, tax free, whatever it is. But for us, it was, are we going to, in a year from now, can we
Yeah,
support this family with this?
yes.
And all the families
That
that were working for us.
that is a very, very hard decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
And you were asking me, John, about, is there something I wish I had done differently in our business? And one, I think maybe to be a little bit more courageous to take those leaps, like you just said, Connie, because
Mm-hmm.
we never, ever got outside funding for our company. We have never taken out a loan for the company. We're very conservative. And sometimes that was to a fault,
Right.
because as a 43-year-old brand, I think maybe we should have had a little bit more confidence in our abilities to take maybe some of those riskier investments and go out into an area. But we were always of the thing, we didn't want outside money.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want to take out loans that we could not pay back.
Right. Or it was going to take food off the table for our children to pay back.
That's right.
And that it is a big decision.
It is a big decision, but I've seen other family brands where they do take that leap. Some of them mortgage their homes
Right.
and they invested back in the company. And you did see, not all the time, doesn't always work out, but sometimes when you are confident with what you are doing, you see the company really get to that next level.
Right.
I would think it's not always an all or nothing kind of thing. I mean, there are times when
Right.
you can start small. There is some investment, but you can test and go in a new direction and see how it works without betting the farm on it,
Right.
as they say.
Yeah, you're
Mortgaging your
right.
children.
Right. But if you ask my husband or my family, I'm like, we got to do it all. If we're going to do this, let's just do it all and make it. And he's always like, well, how about if you test it out first? And I'm like, oh, I don't like waiting. I like doing things fast. So, but you're right, John. I think if you took it as a slower in segments, you could do it that way.
Right.
That's where we work and how we think. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
and it underlies everything. So, but this is
Yeah.
not about us. So, is there something you wish that you'd known about the family aspect? That what did you learn from those years of work? Like you said, I'll never do this, and then you're in it, and then you're in love with it. So, what would you say to that the person that said, "I'll never do this"?
Sometimes I think we all look around and the grass looks greener on the other side. So you say, I'm not going to work with family. I want to go and I want to go big. And then you realize that working with family, it just fills your heart. Maybe we're not the biggest corporation out there, but every time I tell that story of my mom starting the company 43 years ago, I'm telling you, I do. I feel like the Grinch in the movie where you feel like your heart gets a little bit bigger, because I am in awe of her bravery at that time to do what she did,
Absolutely.
because she didn't do it as a second career. Yes, I told you my father was in sales, but he was going in and out of jobs at that time. And my mom started the company to keep our family alive, to support our family. So for her, it was, this has to work. This is not, I'm doing this business to buy a lampshade. This is, I need this to support my 3 kids. And when I tell that story, my heart gets bigger. But I think when I was younger, I didn't understand that. And my mother did a great thing when I came out of college. She would not let me work for the company right away, even if I wanted to, because she says, you need to go out and work for other people first.
Smart.
And that is something I tell to people all the time. Definitely do that. Because when I started, I was with a real estate developer working in accounting, and there was a day where I literally sat in a back room just cutting up old checks because we had changed bank accounts. And I remember going home and saying to my mother, this is ridiculous. What did I go to college for? I'm sitting in this room cutting up these checks. I should be doing more. And she's like, it's character building. Over the years, my mother has said that to me quite a few times, character building. And even to this day, I'll say, I've got enough character. I don't need that. But she's right. Like, everything you do in your life builds your character. And you need to go through those before you jump into the family business. Otherwise, you don't learn to respect maybe the top management. I would not respect my mother or my father or working with them as much if I hadn't worked for somebody else first.
Correct.
I get that. And I know that there's some division in the advisory world about how important it is for next gens to work outside the business first. A lot of people require it. Other people, recommend it.
And other people don't
some
think
it
it's
just
necessary.
happens naturally, and some don't do it. I think from my perspective, I didn't really. I went straight into the family business as kind of a default, and most of my career, I wondered if I deserved to be there. Could I work somewhere else, or am I only here because I'm the heir? And that is not a comfortable psychological position to be in at all. It's worse than uncomfortable. But so I'm a strong advocate of getting some experience somehow that shows you your skills and your strengths, that that you've earned your position. And there's also policies within the family business, like especially if it's big enough to have more than family members as employees. Then the family members, there needs to be very clear policies in place that everybody goes through the same process to be hired into the position and has to qualify the same way, so that there's no question about that. And
I totally agree. We have people in our company who are not family, and our philosophy there is we treat them like they are. We acknowledge birthdays or anniversaries, or care about when a pet passes away. When people come and join us, they are family. We care about them. But I agree with you, even just going through the interviewing process, everybody should go through an interviewing process with another company. You should never walk out of college and go right into a company, because like you said, John, you'll sit there later wondering, do I deserve this? And even when I started with the company, I'd worked for somebody else. I felt like I really needed to prove myself, because I felt like I was young. I also felt like I was just Anne's daughter. I needed to prove that I knew what I was talking about.
And the only way to do that is to get out there and put yourself out there early.
Well, and that says
And
something about you too. That you felt that way, because there are there's a lot of different kinds of personalities, and there are second generations that come at it from the point of view of, I don't have anything to prove. I deserve to be here. I'm part of the family, and there's an entitlement there that they want to coast, and that is toxic in a family business culture.
It won't last the long haul if you have people who feel that way, because you've got to get down dirty in a family business.
Absolutely.
I still empty out the trash on days. You are always doing something. But when you were talking, here is my big tidbit for anyone in business, really, or family business. Get yourself a speaking course. Now, I'm a big Toastmaster person. I think everyone should join a Toastmaster club so that you get that regular time to work on your speaking skills, not only if you want to have a podcast, but how you speak to other employees, how you learn to speak with top management, and understand how everybody has different communication skills. I only did this 5 years ago and it changed my life. I wish I had done it earlier in my career because it would have helped me be a better spokesperson for the company, but it also would have helped me better relate to my parents as they were the leaders in the company, to then coming on to then maybe my kids joining or even my spouse joining. Because that got a little interesting because I was in the company first. I knew more about the company than he did. And so he had to work underneath me. But there's a delicate balance there.
Yes, there is.
And Toastmasters has all these different paths of training that you get to go through that helped me with all those things. So there's my big definite tip.
That's a great tip. I was not aware that Toastmasters had those different levels because you were talking about like different styles of communication and
Yes.
who you're communicating with. I thought it was about preparing a talk that you give to an audience, and that was that.
No, it can be everything from doing a presentation to giving a toast at your mother's 90th birthday party to giving a eulogy, but then just every day communicating with employees or even being a mentor or a coach. That has really helped me a lot because like I mentioned before, I am a thinker that's like this. And my husband is a little bit, I need to see the full picture. He's slower. And before I started to analyze communication skills, I used to get so annoyed. Like, why can't he work like me? But he wasn't me. And it wasn't until I really identified his communication style that I was able to work it all out.
I see. So,
yeah.
All right.
That is my big drop the mic.
And we did a similar thing using the Clifton Strengths Finder and working with that.
Yeah, different personality strengths and personalities and values. Looking at all of that and appreciating the differences. I want to say.
He finally got it through his head that I hate computers. I'm not going to learn computers. It's a dead subject. Okay.
Well, my husband's the same way. He's like, I'm not sales. And I'm like, well, I'm not sales either, but I do like to talk to people, but I'm not hardcore sales. But he was always like, nope.
Understand. And like details.
Goodness.
Ooh, no, we don't do details. We do big picture stuff.
Yes.
And that's it.
So what's next? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, like I said, right now with that Toastmaster channel, I'm doing a lot more speaking. I'm trying to get out there and be more vocal about quality ways of doing marketing, but especially in the industrial space. And what's also getting incorporated in there is AI. I'm doing a lot of training organizations about the AI tools that are out there, how they can implement them into different departments. But again, making sure that they stay unique, that they remember their story and work on building relationships. And it can't be something you just hand over to AI and tell them to do, because you won't ever create those relationships unless you're able to do that.
Right.
Yeah, AI is homogenized.
Yes, yeah, it is. And people have to be very careful about that.
Yes. Okay.
Right. And so future plans, you mentioned a son, your kids are in the business. Have they expressed an interest in carrying on, a transition beyond your career?
No.
Okay.
To be honest, no. And I'm perfectly fine with that at this point, because like I said, They need to go out, work for other people, figure out what they like to do. And then if they do come back, that's great. But our company can go in a variety of different ways that they can take it in any direction that they want, because marketing is constantly evolving. And so we'll see what happens. But right now,
Okay.
what we're doing as a brand is just getting out there and speaking more, promoting the podcast and
All right, and we will make
educating.
sure to put that in the show notes. So
Yes.
for people that clearly we're going to mention the podcast, the your website, anything else that you want people to discover you on.
No, they can just check, obviously, LinkedIn. It's Donna A. Peterson. They can check us there. I also have a World Innovators YouTube channel where there we post regularly about different topics. I'm about to do a whole series on AI tools, how to use them each
Ooh.
week, a special tip. And then our podcast, you'll find us on any of the podcast platforms along with YouTube, because we do, just like yourself, we do the audio and the video side of it.
Yeah, that's where I've watched it on. I like the video part of it.
Yeah.
I'm not a old school audio podcaster. So.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And if anyone has needs for B2B marketing, please feel free to reach out to me and I can see if I can help you.
Excellent. We look forward to recommending you. Thanks so much for spending this
It's
time
been
with us.
so much fun.
Yes, it was. We could talk forever.
We could. We could.
Thank
yeah.
you so much for having
But
me.
now we have to go on to our business, right?
Pleasure.
Yes, right.
And if one of those kids joins the business, and maybe we'll circle back and get you both on camera together and talk about how you're figuring out
That dynamic.
that dynamic.
Yep. Yes, definitely. All right. Or let me see if I can get my husband on here one of these days.
Yes,
We'd love to do that.
love
too.
that. All righty. Well, thanks
All
so
right.
much, and we will look forward to a future conversation.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.